right, I'm Gordon Ungerman. I'm the owner of Ungerman Meats. My dad started this business about 51, 52 years ago, and when he retired, I took over. I've been in it my whole life. Remember, I started skinning deer when I was about around 10 years old, and I just stuck with it and helped him out with business partners for a lot of years. And 7 years ago, we moved out to this building and turned it into a little bigger business. We had outgrown our other business. And, we end up, I don't know, helping a lot of people. We do an awful lot of meat processing, domestic stuff with the wild game. And we incorporated my son as a taxidermist, and everything goes hand in hand. So we like to think of ourselves as a one-stop shop. You can come in and get your animal skinned and cut up and taxidermied. You can take it home and hang it on your wall after we're done with it. So, and I guess we're going to try to teach somebody how to make jerky. Anyway, what we do is we usually use, it's USDA choice top rounds is what we use. And they come in packages like this. They're already pre-knocked down off of a beef. And I'll just kind of open this up and show you what we have to deal with. There's a lot of fat and a lot of trimming that goes along with making jerky. That's why jerky, if you look at it, is very expensive. It's because there's a lot of waste when it comes to it. And you have to get rid of all this fat and sinew and stuff off there. And what we do is we go through, literally break this down. Later on, this stuff that we're trimming will go into hamburger, but we just sit and work this whole thing over until we can get down to a good piece of meat, which is, these are already been done for the help to move the film along. But anyway, that's a big difference between what you start with. You're paying $4 or $5 a pound for that. You got a lot of waste. It's not good. So you want to try to keep as much as you possibly can in big chunks. And really and honestly, that's what you end up with. You try to get the most clear meat that you can find that has less fat. Less fat makes a lot better product. And over here is what we have as a meat slicer. We like to run it about, I'm going to say about 1/16 of an inch. If you go too thick, then your meat tastes like a steak instead of jerky. And if you go too thin, it usually has a tendency to dry out. Try to go slow so you got a good even product, which you end up with nice even pieces that's easy to work with. And what we do is we go through, we like to make our batches in 25 pounds. It's a lot easier to measure out. We have our salts and sugars all pre-measured for it. I won't do that for today, but we'll just kind of go to that point. And anyway, from there, we bring it over, run it onto the scales, see kind of how much weight we have, and that tells us how much salt and sugar to use on your product. And I'll just kind of move this stuff down here and we can kind of run through. Bring it over here. This is the old-fashioned way. I'm not a very big operation. Although we sell a lot of jerky, we're not mass producing it. We still hand make everything. We feel like that's what kind of sets us apart from a lot of the other places is we don't have machines doing all this. We do it all by hand. We bring in extra people during the fall because it's pretty busy, and we pretty much have somebody building jerky every day, trying to keep up with the demand of it. And we like to, without having to buy all the machinery, we do it by hand, and we can kind of help keep the cost down. We kind of like bringing in the clients, the people that support us. We use it as a calling card, really and honestly. So they come in and buy jerky and see that we sell meats and stuff, and they'll usually buy a handful of steaks and stuff. Anyway, from here, you have to take a bag and we'll weigh that out. 2.5. I'd like to tell you what's in the seasoning, but it's kind of a secret recipe. So anyway, I just hand shake it. A lot of my people that work for me, my employees, we put it in like a salt and pepper shaker and put it on. Different seasonings take different amounts. If you're using salt, you got to go kind of soft, and if you're using sugar, you can go pretty heavy. But anyway, that's the process. And this is salt. It's one that we'll call Colorado. That's the most favorite jerky that we have, that we sell the most of. And a lot of people, when they make it, they do one side. They always ask us, why do we do two sides? And we feel like we do a better product doing two sides. Make sure that the meat gets covered good, marinated good. And so that's why we do it. Takes a little longer, but in the end result is a lot better. We'll throw this together. This is, like I said, what we call Colorado. It's kind of it'll be a salty hickory flavor. And it don't take a whole bunch to make that happen. And all we do from there is just gather it up, pile it together. And maybe she's gonna go get me a tray. We'll just set that right there for now. We got some trays that we keep it all in there and separated. And we throw it in the cooler in the refrigerator. If you're doing it at home, most people don't have big coolers like we got. So you do it at home, you put it in your refrigerator and let it stand overnight. That's basically where we're at. You got a chub for me? Thank you. Just take that and you can put that in your refrigerator. It don't take up a whole lot of room, but them little chubs will hold about 12 pounds. And from there, I'll hurry and slice this and I'll show you another flavor, the difference between the sugar and the salt. But when you're doing it at home, you're usually playing with 2, 3, 4 pounds, maybe 5. And what we're doing is we usually do them in about 150 pound batches pretty much every day. And that keeps us busy. So that's a lot of slicing. And just throw that back on the scale and get a weight on it. That's about 4.5 pounds, and then we just go through the same process. It's kind of tedious, but it works out good. And like I said, I keep going back to the end result is really good. And we don't like going to the store and buying a couple little packages for $5. So we try to give you a good big bag and try to make it worth your time coming out to see us. We enjoy meeting new people. And with this festival and stuff, the rock climbers and stuff, we meet some very good people, very interesting people. It's fun to hear their stories. So it's a good conversation piece also. Now this is what we call barbecue. And do you have a baggie right behind us? No, we do. We started this process years ago. My father started this business 50 years ago, over 50 years ago, and I took over about 22 years ago. And I like to get into specialties like hams and bacons, jerkies, salamis, snack sticks, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I took it. And anyway, there again, I like to do it by hand. My workers put in a salt pepper shaker. Now this is more sugar, and it has to be it calls for a lot more. So you have to put it on quite a bit thicker. It'll break down a lot, and it actually turns itself into more of a marinade, and it'll get pretty juicy. So you got to have it pretty thick. Some of my customers say you can't put it on too thick because they like the extra flavor. But the sugar, anything made with sugar is a lot more costly than the salt. And same process, just flip it over. And this is just a basic barbecue, real good. It's just got a sweet hickory flavor. And for those that like to spice it up a little bit, what we do is we'll add a touch of jalapeno, put some jalapeno seasoning on it, which will give it a little bit of kick, a little bit of heat for those that are a little more adventurous. And some of those out there that like a little bit more sweet than what it is already, we'll add a touch of honey. And that gives it just a little bit more sweet. So that's kind of fun. We kind of play around with that, make different flavors, try different things. And from there we go. All we do is just pile it up. In fact, just throw all that in there. And that makes our barbecue. And from there, the first one we did was called Colorado, and that's a base for a lot of the brands that we make. And so we always start with a base. Take your Colorado, and then we can add jalapeno to it, make a jalapeno blend. We make a pepper blend, smoked honey, teriyaki. We make, for the real outdoorsman, we make a super hot that has all lots of good spices, a lot of jalapeno, habaneros, and so anyway, from there we let this stand overnight in the refrigerator, and then from there we bring it back out, lay down a rack. And these poly grates set on top, and it actually lets the jerky dry more even, and it keeps it from sticking to the pan. And what we do is I'm just going to pull this out. And anyway, once this is set overnight, then all you do is back to laying it out. You try not to let it overlap or touch. It'll shrink a little bit, but you don't want it to overlap because where it touches, it won't dry. So you got to keep it spread out. Make sure you get a good airflow around it. You want the airflow, and these smokers are designed to keep your air flowing up and down. After we get it to this point, then we come over. We have a couple big smokers that we use, and put it in on the shelf, turn it on, and we'll throw a little bit of smoke. You want a little bit of smoke in there. I won't do that now because it'll smoke us out. But anyway, that's what your finished product will come out looking like. And then you just take and bag it and label it, and ready to eat. shelf ready. So yeah, that's we keep them smokers are running pretty much 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. Coming into these are the bags that we put together. That shows you all your ingredients and stuff, because I know some people have allergies and stuff, so it's good to know all the restrictions and stuff if they can eat it or whatever. In an oven, you're gonna, like I said, the lowest you can go I think is 170, and you're probably gonna go 4 to 6 hours depending on, everybody's oven is gonna be different and they're gonna cook different. So if you got them on a cookie sheet or if you got them on a rack, they get good airflow. You just have to tend it until you get the right consistency with it. But a lot of people have their own recipes already. Grandma and grandpas come with lots of recipes. A lot of people have them. Be honest with you, as expensive as spices are, the local store, just different stores, your outdoor stores, stuff like that will carry a lot of just jerky seasonings. That's probably the cheapest, easiest way to make it because it's already programmed for you and it tells you it'll do 10 pounds or 25 pounds. And I would suggest find that flavor that you like. If you don't already have a recipe, I would just suggest probably going to the store. That would be my suggestion, is just your Cabela's, your Sportsman, stuff like that will have a good line of jerkies and jerky cures and stuff. So
I guess the other thing, kind of think of like all of the ways that this can connect dots for people at home. If you were going to the grocery store, you couldn't buy, well, you can buy top round for sure at the store, but what would be your choices?
Top round and rump roast. Sirloin tips, kinda. What you're looking for is you're wanting the clearest, the darkest red meat that you can find that don't have the least amount of fat in it possible. Okay. That's what you're looking for. Is when I call it clear meat, I'm talking I don't want fat in it. I want it as lean as you can possibly get. So you look for them choices. You don't want to buy stuff with bones in it, because that's just extra waste that you're going to throw away. Just have them look for a top round, bottom rounds, and rump roast, stuff like that you can, butcher will know what they are and they can get you hooked up. If you tell them it's for jerky, they'll usually hook you up with a good piece of lean meat. So